And welcome back, everyone, on this Saturday night, the 11th of January, 2025. A year, I think a lot of really remarkable things are going to happen this year, and we're going to touch on a couple tomorrow night. I want to switch gears now, using a very old metaphor. My next guest, Sam Osmanagich, PhD, is a Bosnian-born Houston resident, well, no longer. He sold his house and moved completely to Bosnia a couple years ago. He is an author, a researcher, businessman. He discovered an ancient pyramid complex in Visoko, Bosnia-Herzegovina, back in 2000, well, before 2005, consisting to date of 11 artificial structures. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon, the Pyramid of Love, the Pyramid of the Dragon, the Temple of Mother Earth, Radica Tumulus, Delovi Tumulus, Gingi Tumulus, KTK Tunnels, an underground labyrinth, Ravine, and Ravine 2, their tunnels. He's established a nonprofit, non-governmental archaeological park where ordinary citizens, is there such thing as an ordinary citizen, can actually join in the research and make cutting-edge discoveries like this pyramid complex, which there's no doubt now it's a pyramid complex, come on, is at least 30,000 years old. That makes the Giza Plateau pyramids 4,500 years, like, stepchildren. However, tomorrow night we're going to get into how old the Giza complex could really be in terms of the ground plan, the architectural plan, notwithstanding the structures we think of as the Great Pyramids of Egypt currently standing. They, in our model, are very, very recent compared to how old the design was. So without further ado, Sam Osmanagich, come on down. It's been a long time.
Yes, good morning. How are you, Richard?
I hope we didn't bore you too much with our LA situation, but there's an awful lot of people that apparently don't know the most simple rudimentary things about how to protect their lives, their home, their livelihood, their families, etc. So that's part of what we try to do as a public service here.
Yes, I was listening to you. This is really shocking. And now, Richard, you have excellent choice of topic tonight. You wanted to get an update, of course, on Bosnian Pyramid Project, but also you want to talk about amazing discovery of extremely old pyramid in West Java, Indonesia. And since this project has so many similarities with the Bosnian Pyramid Project, I can really appreciate what they've been doing over there, and I can understand what they've been going through. You see, I discovered the Bosnian pyramids back in 2005, and 6 months later, I read the news that Denny Hillman, geophysicist with a PhD from University in California, discovered the pyramids in West Java. And then a few years later, I read about the age. He mentioned 27,000 years. And I was really delighted because radiocarbon dating of Bosnian pyramids was taking us back to 29,200 years. And then in the period of 2011-2014, Dr. Denny Hillman, and his last name is Natavijaya. He's native of in Indonesia. He's done a number of geophysical activities which resulted in excellent reports. And finally, in October of 2023, less than a year and a half ago, he published a scientific article in an online magazine called the Wiley Online Library. They have a section called Archaeological Prospection. And he has shown the results of his multidisciplinary study. And it was an excellent article. I read it. And of course, he mentioned the age of 27,000 years. But then you could see so many responses from the mainstream scientists, archaeologists, geologists, historians, museums, archaeological institutions, attacking him, attacking this online magazine. So finally, a few months later, this article was retracted from this online publication. Why? Nobody really said anything about his scientific methodology, which was flawless, excellent, because we've been doing the same stuff, so I can understand what he was doing. But the problem of the mainstream scientists, especially those who never went to Indonesia, they don't understand the project, are the consequences of the age.
Oh, yeah, it's huge, because what it means, Sam, is not only are you right about Bosnia, because you got an independent example on the other side of the planet that's basically the same age, but it means there had to be an era when structures of this magnitude were built by a viable, extraordinary set of cultures that we know almost nothing about.
Exactly right. Now, what they teach us in schools is that everything started as far as the advanced civilizations 5,000–6,000 years back, with the Sumeria, then Babylon, Akkad, Assyria, Hittites, ancient Egypt, China, and India. And that's wrong. That's simply the last cycle of the humanity. Before this one, there was another one, which ended with the biblical flood, 11,700 or 12,000 years back. And then there was another one, 18,500, and another one, 34,000, and another one, 54, and finally 75,000 years back, the huge volcanic eruption also in Indonesia. So what I'm saying is that the history is not linear, as they teach us, like 10, 20,000 years back we were primitive cavemen, and today we are the most intelligent, the most technologically advanced, and the most beautiful. Well, we are not. We simply live in the last cycle of humanity. Well, Dennis' work is globally important, and I know exactly what he was doing. First, he was using classical methods, archaeological trenches, and geological core drillings, and we've done the same thing. For example, in the case of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, which is the largest on the planet, and we're going to mention that later, we've done more than 20 archaeological trenches, from the small ones, 2 by 2 meters, 5 by 5, to the big ones. We had one which is 50 meters by 60 meters, which is about 160 feet by 200 feet. The same thing goes for Danny. He did some small trenches, 1 by 3 meters, up to bigger ones, 9 by 9 meters. He did geological core drilling. He wanted to see what is under the ground. And he did a number of those core drillings from 3 meters to 38 meters. It is 130 feet, which is the deepest. And then he started using high-tech technology. He was doing, of course, ground-penetrating radar, GPR. And he was using 3 different antennas. One was 15 megahertz, 40 megahertz, and 80 megahertz. And the same results like what we had. 15 megahertz cannot penetrate deep enough, just a few meters. And 80 megahertz antenna, the picture is simply so blurry, you have no idea what is under the ground. So he was using dominantly 40 megahertz, the same what we've been doing.
Sam, do you have an unhappy dog in the background, because it's really coming through?
Yes, okay, we'll... Sabina.
You want to take a minute and maybe make the dog happy?
All right.
Close the door?
We'll take care of him. And yeah, we're doing it right now.
I mean, I believe dogs should have voices, but not.
I have 3 dogs. I have 3 dogs, by the way. Yes, I have a nice property here. So, okay, they're gone now. He was using thermal equipment, and we've been using geothermal equipment also. That one is important because it can tell you, based on different temperature during the days and nights, it can tell you the energy loss. If you have quick energy loss, it means that you have passageways and chambers and non-compact material. If the energy loss is slow, it means it's probability that this is a natural structure. So what we did in Bosnia, all our pyramids, pyramid of the sun and the moon and the dragon, quick energy loss, heat loss. The similar thing in his case. He was doing, some geoelectrical measurements, and he was finding cavities or chambers or passageways inside the pyramid. So
okay, hang on, Sam. Let's go back to basics. How big compared to your structures in Bosnia? How big is the Java pyramid, the Gunnong pyramid?
Yes, the pyramid is called Gunnong Padang. Gunnong Padang means hill of light, or to be more precise, the mountain of enlightenment. So during the oral traditions, we can see that the local people knew that it was something so big and important with this hill. They thought it was hill because it is covered. Today it's in the middle of the jungle. It's covered by soil and vegetation, exactly the same like Bosnian pyramids. The height of the Gunnong Padang pyramid is 100 meters, which is about 330 feet. It's huge. Now, it is not a regular pyramid with a square base and 4 triangular faces. It is not. However, it is elongated with 4 sides. It is stepped in design. It is truncated, meaning the top is missing. It is actually flat, parallel to the base. So we can consider it in wider terms a pyramid, because when we see most of the pyramids do have a square base, like majority of 28 oldest Egyptian pyramids, the stone pyramids in Egypt, they have square base, they have 4 triangular faces, and those faces are equilateral triangles. However, you have some pyramids, especially in the Mayan world, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, with a rectangular base, and they are also truncated. The very similar case is in Peru. In Peru, there are 300 pyramids. Now, Cambodia...
Should we at this point go to your items so people can see a picture of this? Because I've got as my banner tonight a side view, which was taken, I forget who took it, but if you go to the other side of midnight.com and click on tonight's banner, which says your name there, 30,000-year-old pyramids are real. Yes. That's a side view showing this weird geometry. And then if they click on your name under that banner on the guest page, Sam, that will take you to item, I would say number 2 shows the stepped nature of the pyramid.
Yes, okay, we can go quickly through the photos. The photo number 1, it is me with the Minister for Culture of Indonesia. I went there in 2014 confirming that these were the pyramids. So item number 2, we can see this elongated structure. Now this is freestanding pyramid. It is not connected to, it is like isolated. It is not connected to any other hill. So obviously at one time, you could see this beautiful structure. Now we can see the stepped design. We can see it's rectangular in shape. Dr. Danny.
No, wait, hang on. Are rectangular pyramids weird? Because I've never heard of a rectangular pyramid.
Yeah, there are some rectangular pyramids. Canary Islands, they have 104 pyramids. Some of them with a square base, some of them with rectangular base. Okay. Even the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, rectangular base. It is 660 meters in length and 440. 440 is another length.
Yeah, 600 meters is almost 2,000 feet.
Yes, there's the Bosnian pyramid. This one is like I said, 100 meters in height. It is 105 meters in length. It's a big pyramid. It is
Well,
comparing.
that's about the size of the Mycerinus pyramid at Giza, right?
A little bit, yeah, it is 100 meters is exactly the same. So in Egypt, we have Khufu, which is 146.5. We have Kefren, which is 5 meters less. Number 3 is the Red Pyramid, 106 meters. And the fourth one, Mycerinus or Mycerinus, it is about 100 meters. You are right. So this is big. Now, very important thing is Denny, based on radiocarbon dating, is talking about the 4 phases. He called them 4 units. Unit number 4 is the oldest one. The material over there is volcanic rocks, basalt. So he claims that first structure was actually shaped, or he said sculpted, volcanic rock. So somebody sculpted the pyramid shape from the natural bedrock. And it is 27,000 years. This is what's really amazing.
Okay, wait. Hang on. Does that mean they had to dig down in the bedrock to create a structure in the middle of an excavation, or was this a knob of lava sticking up that they shaped?
No, what they did, the way they realized that is they were doing geological core drilling, and they were going through different layers, also of the volcanic shaped blocks, and then they hit the very compact materials. So we know that there are no layers anymore. So it was natural bedrock, but it was sculpted because we can see the shape, this elongated shape, and this is a step pyramid.
Okay.
So that's unit number 4. Unit number 3, it is 10,000 years old. So there's the second cultural layer, 10,000, which is also amazing. It is just a couple of thousand years after the deluge, after the end of the last ice age. The unit number 2 is 8,000 years. And then he claims that unit number 2 was purposely covered with soil. And unit number 1 is 4,000 years old. So 4,000, 8,000, 10,000, and 27,000 years. This is so new in the world of archaeology. So I believe the archaeologists cannot really follow him, but everything is based on radiocarbon dating. So if you want, we can go through the photos. The photo number 4, this is me talking in Jakarta. Jakarta is the capital of Indonesia, where I basically confirmed the existence of the pyramids over there. Number 5, it is their Minister for Culture. Number 6, it was many media over there. And then number 8, it is me in front of Gunnong Padang traffic sign. Number 9, you see the jungle over here? Now, a lot of trees. I mean, it was almost impossible to find. Now, this site is not really unknown to the public over there. Namely, back in 1980s, archaeologists then, they discovered on the very top the remnants of the structure. So at that time, they were saying, well, we're going to give it a provincial level.
So is the pyramid the peak on the ridge line on the top of the photo?
Yes, exactly. So like photo number 10. Look at the photo number 10. This is what's on the very top. And then photo number 11, it is me and Danny. A lot of shaped volcanic blocks are around. So it seems like there was either a huge earthquake, and of course there are a lot of earthquakes in the area. Now,
so wait. These are structural elements built of volcanic basalt, right? Shaped and dressed.
Exactly.
There's an island in the Pacific, I'm trying to remember the name, that has amazing structures made out of the same kind of shaped volcanic basalt.
Yes, haven't been there. It's on my bucket list.
It begins with an R, I think. I'm
Yes.
trying to remember the name of the island.
I remember. Yes.
It's a very puzzling culture, but it's the other place I've seen structures built out of dressed volcanic basalt, which obviously was mined and then machined by some technology to make these regular, very elongated rectangular blocks.
Yes, exactly. It's the same material here. Same material.
Yeah.
Now, look at the photo number 12.
Okay.
Now, this is the photo, using geophysical methods. Look in the middle. There is like something triangular in shape, light blue and then dark blue, in between the red. Now, this is a cavity. This is a cavity, but the interesting thing is it is triangular in shape, but...
So is this ground penetrating radar or thermal?
This is thermal analysis, the thermal analysis.
Ah.
And it shows the cavity, it shows the chamber. And when he was doing core drilling, he noticed that the level of water closer to surface is so low, the water was missing. Why? Because of the passageways and chambers. Water was simply drained through those passageways. That was an interesting conclusion. The photo number 13, now it shows the orientation. The structure, it is the dark red, and you can see the north, the structure is oriented north-south. It is very good orientation. Why is that important? Traveling the world, researching the pyramids in the last 40 years, I realized that majority of them have such orientation. For example, all Egyptian pyramids, they are oriented to the north, cosmic north. For example, the Great Pyramid of Egypt or Khufu Pyramid has an error from the perfect north of 0 degrees and only 3 minutes. The same thing with the Khafre, 0 degrees 3 minutes. Mykerinos is 0 degrees 18 minutes. Red Pyramid is 0 degrees 5 minutes. Bent Pyramid in Dahshur, 0 degrees 12 minutes. The pyramids in China, and I visited them in the central province of Shanxi, there are 250 of them. They all have perfect orientation. The pyramids in Indonesia...
Wait. The pyramids in China, unlike the ones at Giza, which are slightly rotated left of true north by minutes of arc, which is a tiny fraction of a, degree. The ones in China are perfectly aligned?
They are. Well, of course, there is an error. I did not have the scientific instruments to measure it. I was just using my compass. But they are all oriented to the north. However, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun has the most precise orientation to the north ever. We had a team from the State Institute for Geodesy. They brought total station scientific instrument, and they realized that the error to the north is 0 degrees, 0 minutes, and 12 seconds.
Holy cow, Sam.
So imagine the largest pyramid, the most precise orientation. So,
a mountain oriented exactly within 12 arc seconds?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, that's amazing. But now the question is, why need for such precision? Now, I know that Egyptologists, they realize that Egyptian pyramids are oriented to the north, but they don't know why. They are saying, oh, it's probably because of the movement of the souls or, some religion purposes. They have no clue. I know that independent researchers like Hancock or John Anthony West or Schock and the others, they also realized this perfection, but they don't know why. Well, I'll tell you one thing. We do know why. Why do we know that in Bosnia? Because our project is interdisciplinary project. We realize that we need to view the pyramids, not as only as the, architectural structures, as the constructions, but we need to bring another element in place, and that would be the energy properties. When we go back to genius Nikola Tesla, of course, he claimed he was not the first one or the last one, that everything is energy. And our planet is a huge energy ball. We can view it even that way. And the strongest energy flows are north-south, and the second one is east-west. So when you build a pyramid, four-sided pyramid, that's why majority of the pyramids on this planet are four-sided. When you build one and you orient it perfectly to the cardinal points, east, west, north, south, you have energy movement within a pyramid structure. And guess what? Those three chambers in the Great Pyramid of Egypt, they are all built, on this energy flow. So energy flow goes like this. It hits first third of the pyramid, goes up to 2/3 of the height, coming back to 1/3, and then completing the circle at the bottom of the pyramid. So 2D, picture a triangle with a circle inside. And said those three chambers, they call them for some reason King's chamber, Queen's chamber, and unfinished chamber. They are exactly on the way of this energy flow. Why? So those who go to those chambers, they are exposed to the beneficial pyramid energy.
And the pyramid acts as a solid state amplifier of this background field. And when Maria joins us, these are called ley lines, huge planetary ley lines. And we were talking just a couple nights ago as to whether over geologic time they move and they shift. And she says they don't. And I'm thinking they probably have to, but they could be used in conjunction with other techniques to measure when the pyramids were actually built, because they're built to take advantage of these energies in the hyperdimensional physics model.
Yes. All right. Okay, let's move on. Photo number 15.
By the way, number 15 is a very good overview of the cross section of the pyramid.
Yes, that's excellent. People can get excellent idea how the original structure looked like. It's a huge step pyramids. Now, number 17, number 18, it's me with the Dr. Danny. He was showing me all this analysis, all these graphs, and I was really impressed by his interdisciplinary scientific approach. And
look at the dressing. Look at the dressing of those volcanic blocks.
Exactly.
Amazing engineering.
Yeah, they are four-sided, sometimes five-sided blocks. Yes. Okay. All right. That'll be
Oh, by the way, we're at the bottom of the hour, so hold it there. My guest this morning is Sam Osmanagich. We're talking about something absolutely amazing, which is a ancient, massive pyramid, literally in the middle of the jungle in West Java, Indonesia, discovered about the same time that Sam discovered his pyramids in Bosnia, by a culture that apparently was co-equal in time to what was going on in Bosnia, half a planet away, around the planet. We've only begun, folks. Don't touch that dial. You're on the other side of midnight. My name is Richard C. Hoagland. We shall return.
theothersideofmidnight.com. Tune in to listen to Richard C. Hoagland and his fascinating guests. Support the broadcast and don't miss another groundbreaking conversation. Join Club 19.5 to get access to exclusive member benefits. Listen to past episodes anytime on any device. Search the archives of over 180 episodes. Membership costs $9.95 a month, 33 cents a day. Talk radio at the cutting edge of science and thought. TheOtherSideOfMidnight.com.
And welcome back, everyone, on this Saturday night on the other side of midnight here in the great American Southwest. Gorgeous weather we've been having. Got a little chilly, so it's not very warm down here in the studio, but fortunately, we have heaters. You know, when I first saw this story, Sam, I said to myself, 27, 30,000, what's the difference? Do you really think that we're talking about a totally separate culture, or was there a planetary culture at this time horizon that lasted longer than ours, longer than 6,000 years? So we're looking at maybe a kind of a far eastern branch of the same civilization that built the ones in your backyard. What do you think?
Well, if we are to speculate, I would say that these were the episodes. The Chinese pyramids, much younger, 25 biggest Chinese pyramids are about 12,500 years ago, which is also remarkable.
Well, you know why? Because that's half the precessional cycle, almost exactly. Yes.
And then Indonesia, 27, the Bosnia, 29,200. However, Richard, this is a radiocarbon date. In order to get calibrated date or calendar age, basically you add about 14%. Dr. Paula Violette calculated that in the case of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, and he said the real age is 33,600. So if you apply the same formula for pyramids in Indonesia, the new Padang, it's about 31,000. So what was happening 30,000 plus years ago? According to the archaeologists, nothing. You know, they are talking about the hunters, they're talking about food gatherers. So it's not even agricultural economy. So what was happening there? You didn't mention the Great Pyramid in Egypt and the real age. Well, officially they are saying 4,550 years. I think much, much older. Why am I saying that?
Me too.
Yeah, you remember when you go to the Giza plateau, you could see so much of the seashells. And the seashells are coming from the Mediterranean. And the Giza plateau is 180 kilometers away from the sea. So obviously at one time the plateau flooded. When? 12,000 years back. When El Mamnoon...
So wait. You mean there was a tidal wave that stretched all the way from the Med all the way down to Giza?
Of course. And when was the last catastrophe of such magnitude? 12,000 years back, when all the ice melted and the level of the world's seas and oceans, it rose. And at that time, the Giza plateau was flooded. And guess what? When 1,200 years back, El Mamnoon entered the Great Pyramid of Egypt, he found seashells and salt at the base of the pyramid, inside the pyramid.
Well, wait, didn't he find salt encrusted deposits in some of the passages, and they're still there?
What does that mean? It means that the structure was there during the last flood 12,000 years.
It was buried in seawater.
Exactly. So now we can see that the site after site, you know, they can call them anomalies, but when you have anomalies enough, then you need to change the history books. Another one, of course, Göbekli Tepe. Interesting and very common feature for the pyramid in Java. It was buried purposely 9,000 years ago. In the case of the Bosnian pyramids, our underground...
No, wait, back up. I know Göbekli Tepe was buried. Are you saying the Java pyramid was buried as well?
It was buried as well. The Bosnian pyramids and their tunnels, they were buried also. And of course, Göbekli Tepe, Dr. Klaus Schmidt, before he passed away, he was saying that it was buried in a hurry. And the material they used, pebbles, rocks, sand, ground animal bones, and ground human bones in Turkey. Imagine this, ground human bones. Maybe it can tell us something who the builders were, because they did show no respect to humans. So
wait. You're saying that these three locations of ancient pyramids and or structures were deliberately buried, I would presume, to protect them.
To protect them or to hide them? Or
make it so they would not work energy-wise.
To stop their function. Now in Bosnia, we believe that's option number 3. Why? In the Bosnian pyramid tunnels, and this is huge network, so far we have discovered 7 entrances to prehistoric tunnels, and they are right now in 2 levels, but we suspect there are maybe up to 7 levels. So far we have cleared 3.5 kilometers, 2 miles, and we suspect that the original length of underground tunnels in Bosnia was about 60 miles or 100 kilometers.
Meaning an underground network of tunnels.
Yes. And imagine this, somebody filled up all those tunnels with the filler material, and filler material was pebbles, rocks, and sand, exactly the same like in Göbekli Tepe.
Okay, so, Keith Morgan, our IT guy, who's a very sharp engineer, he sent me a note. He said the flood did it all. Tell him why we know the flood did not do it.
It's a very simple reason. In Bosnia, we can see the tunnels somebody was closing section by section. They closed 5 or 10 meters, and then they build a drywall. Drywall is a very common feature in the Neolithic times. So we can see, rocks on top of each other, no binding material. Actually, as a binder, the sand was used. So if you have every 5 or 10 meters drywalls, and in our case, we have hundreds of drywalls, well, somebody built those drywalls, and that was not water.
Well, a flood would do it all at once, but design, humans, architecture, would do it compartment by compartment, like compartment, like the inverse of the Titanic, where you built compartments to wall things off.
Yes, and another reason why it was not just the water. When water brings the material, then it does not fill the tunnels all the way to the top. It would be like a wavy design, somewhere to the top, somewhere not. But here in Bosnia, our tunnels, they are completely filled all the way to the top, and you cannot even do that manually, because if you do it manually, 15 minutes or a couple of hours later, that material would go down for at least 10 or 15 inches. In our case, it is always all the way to the top. It looks like somebody used some technology and then they moved the material under the pressure, filling up those tunnels.
Well, if this wasn't to preserve, but it was to basically turn them off, shut them down, suffocate them energy-wise so they would not function as resonators.
Exactly, because what's happening in those tunnels under the pyramids, and remember the tunnels are under the Giza pyramids, under the pyramids in Cambodia, under the Chinese pyramids, under some of the Mayan pyramids, and so on. So what we do, and what's Dr. Danny Hillman is missing, are the energy measurements. So I'm hoping he will come to that. Energy measurements and the effect of the pyramid energy to health, that's what he's missing, and we've been doing that a lot. And finally, the effects to our consciousness, to our spiritual senses and so on. So I hope that will be next step in his research. Well, in our case, what we realize is that in the tunnels there are several energy features that you can measure. If you can measure using scientific instruments, then you can scientifically prove.
Exactly.
What we have measured in the Bosnian pyramid tunnels. Number one, the highest concentration of beneficial negative ions. The students of physiology at the medical faculties, they learn about 42 benefits of negative ions to human health, starting with reducing the high blood pressure, reducing high glucose in the blood, the pains are gone and so on. And we can see from our visitors that they have revolutionary health improvement. These are negative ions. And then when we started measuring them 15 years ago, the concentration at the entrance of the tunnels were rather low. And then as we were clearing more and more tunnels, the concentrations were going higher and higher. So in the last couple of years,
you're basically restoring the function by moving the material.
You're a very smart guy, you don't need much to understand what you're doing. So negative ions is one thing. Another thing, electromagnetism. We measure 28 kilohertz frequency. This is one of the planetary frequencies. It comes from the planet, from our mother, so it's a good frequency for us. But in the tunnels, we discover a lot of quartz crystal. And quartz crystal has the ability to transform the energy from one form, in our case electromagnetism, through the piezoelectrical effect to another form, to the ultrasound. And we measure the ultrasound, the frequency of 28 kilohertz in our tunnels.
Oh my God, Sam, that's
yes.
the frequency of the radio beam going out the top.
Exactly. Not only that, this is the levitation frequency. Ralph Ring did experiments a few decades ago with this frequency. When he came to 28 kilohertz, he noticed that he had like a ping pong ball, table tennis ball, on the sound speaker. The ball started levitating. So this is the levitation frequency. And then we have very low frequency of 7.83 hertz, which is, of course, the original Schumann resonance, also very beneficial.
Well, wait, hang on. Nikola Kozyrev, who's the Russian who pioneered all the torsion work, from which I've taken some of my cues. If you invert the process, if you excite the quartz with a radio frequency, what you will get is a hyperdimensional harmonic, because quartz is a torsion active material, and I think you need other instrumentation to measure the invisible energies that you're not detecting with ordinary EM.
Well, you are right. We realized, you mentioned the energy beam on the top of the Bosnian of the sun, which is 28 kilohertz. First, we thought it was only electrical in nature. And then we measured the ultrasound. Then we measured the scalar waves. So obviously it is very complex energy beam. And we have the same thing in the tunnels. So imagine when the tunnels are all open and they are like a labyrinth. It's not, flat, straight line. And the Chinese knew that through Feng Shui or Feng Shui. They knew that if it is, straight, there is no energy movement. But if it is rounded like a labyrinth, energy moves, is getting, stronger and stronger. And that's the reason why.
Because Sam, it moves in vortices, circular vortices.
Exactly. So I would presume that the tunnels were there to feed the pyramids with the energy. And the moment you filled all these tunnels, the energy movement stopped.
Yep.
The pyramid from very strong energy machines, first it is resonator, and then it is amplifier, so it is energy machine. So from very strong energy machine, it becomes very weak energy machines. Okay. And this is what the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is today. We can still
$64 question.
Yes.
Has the good doctor, who I understand now is deceased, he's not with us anymore, right?
Which one?
In Java?
Oh, no. Dr. Dennis Hillman is alive. He's alive.
Oh, good. Okay.
Dr. Klaus Schmidt of Göbekli Tepe, he is deceased.
I see. Okay. So has the Indonesian pyramid been looked in terms of tunnels under it?
Actually, no. No, because he is focused only on the major structure, not what is under the ground. He did find passageways and chambers inside the structure, but the thing is, when he was using the antenna with the GPR, which is 80 megahertz, which can penetrate very deep, I don't think that he was really looking of what is under the pyramid. And this is what we do here in Bosnia, and we are finding a lot of underground tunnels at great depths.
But they go together. It's an organized, coherent technology. There have to be tunnels under the Java pyramid.
Has to be, for sure. And not only that, another thing I would recommend him is to look for other potential pyramid hills. Why am I saying that? We realized that ancients were so smart and they were applying the elements of sacred geometry when building those complexes. What are the elements of sacred geometry? Equilateral triangle, hexagon, but then the golden section spiral or Fibonacci spiral. Why is that one important? That one is probably the most important. When you have this spiral, you
David Sarita is smiling, grinning ear to ear right now.
Yes. So
well, I know something about the 28 kilohertz. I'll have to tell you later. It's mind-blowing.
Okay.
It fits into my system perfectly.
Okay. Now, we know that in the case of Egyptian pyramids, we have several golden section spiral. For example, the one you start with the King Tut's chamber close to the Giza plateau, at which is the beginning of this spiral. And then on this line, on this spiral, we have tops of all three pyramids. That's one. And the second one, you start with the King's chambers with the spiral, the beginning, and then this spiral touches the bottom of the pyramid and the top of the pyramid. Not the top, which is today at 137 meters, but the original top at 146.5. So it seems that the height of this pyramid simply had to be the way it is. In the case of Bosnian pyramids, now listen to this. The beginning of one of 7 golden section spirals is the top of the Bosnian pyramid of the love, and then you start, with the spiral. On the line of the spiral is the top of the Sun Pyramid, the top of the Temple of Mother Earth, the top of the Dragon Pyramid, and all the way a few kilometers away, the top of the Tumulus. And of course, the conical artificial shape.
So it's a hyperdimensional energy complex.
Exactly. And then we have another spiral, also very interesting. It starts with the mouth of 2 rivers. We have 2 major rivers in the town of Visoko in Bosnia. And actually the location of this mouth is artificially made, but that's another story. So you start with this, and then on this line of the spiral, we have top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, we have entrance to the Ravne tunnels, and again we have top of the Tumulus. The ancients were so careful how they are going to lay out their structures. They are so smart, and the more we investigate in Bosnia, we are so surprised what's been happening.
If you want to see part of this geometry, go to Sam's item number 5, the very bottom of his items, and there's a plane view showing the equilateral triangle placement, which of course is a 2-dimensional tetrahedron of 3 major structures, and then there are insets showing the ground view or the side view, looking at each of these structures with a camera, with a human behind it taking a picture. I imagine that's only a fragment of the geometry that you've measured now.
All in the fragment. That this is an equilateral triangle, which is extremely important between 3 major pyramids, the pyramids of the Sun, Moon, and Dragon. Then we have another triangle within this one, the top of the Love Pyramid, top of the Temple of Mother Earth, entrance to the tunnels. I mean, it's amazing. So many elements of sacred geometry, and they knew they have those elements. They have the movement.
Oh, Sam, I'm sorry, but if you click on that image of the triangle looked at from overhead and aerial, it takes you to your PowerPoint. And there are 13 slides going through the PowerPoint showing this geometry, which is exquisite. And tomorrow night, David is going to unveil some new geometry that he's measured at Giza, which is part of our continuing, mystery, Barbara Honninger's mystery of the Sirius point. In fact, if you want to, you might want to join the show because we could use your expertise.
Okay, now I just opened this PowerPoint presentation. I'll just mention one more thing. In the presentation, the slide number 2 is showing the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun as it is today, covered by soil and vegetation, and the forest has been planted back in 1960s and 1970s. But slide number 3, this is new thing, Richard, since our last talk. What we did, we combined the LiDAR technology, so we applied the LiDAR with some topographic maps, and now we have the picture of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun with the real height. Because from the beginning, back in 2005, 2006, I thought the height is about 220 meters, which is about 725 feet. And, there is a perfect triangle there. But once with the LiDAR, we removed the greenery, we removed the houses and other structures, we can clearly see that the corner, like the corner between north and east, is going all the way to the bottom of the valley, the corner between east and the south all the way to the bottom of the valley. So the real height of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is the remarkable 368 meters, or almost 1,300
Holy cow, Sam.
Yes, by far the largest on the planet, at least.
So wait, so far.
Yes. So it's amazing, and as you can see, I know exactly what Danny was doing, and since we are, our project is kind of the most active archaeological site in the world, and we have experts coming every year. So even though without the government support, with no government money in our project, thanks to the volunteers, including scientists from different countries, different scientific disciplines, our 7 international scientific conferences, we've been able to do so much more than Egyptologists in the case of Egyptian pyramids, or Peruvian pyramids, or Chinese pyramids, or even the pyramids in Java. But I must say that what he's done is excellent work. He needs more support in Indonesia, and what I would advise him is to start measuring energy phenomena and to start seeing if there is an effect of the pyramid energy to human health, to molecular structure of the water, to molecular structure of the food, to our spiritual senses, because that would be the way to figure out the real purpose of pyramid energy. And this is exactly what we've done in Bosnia.
Okay, I'm looking at your item number 5, your slide, and I see something I've never seen before. It's called Gebel Gilibi. What is it?
Gebel Gibli is close to the Giza plateau. It is a natural formation. It is like a hill, looks a little bit like a pyramid hill. So when we connect the top of Gebel Gibli with the top of the 3rd Mycelian pyramid, with the top of the Great Pyramid of Egypt, we are getting an equilateral triangle. And then if we go to Bolivia with the 3 major structures, one of them is, of course, Tijuanaco with the Sun Temple. Another one is Acapena Pyramid. It's a beautiful pyramid made from granite blocks. And the 3rd point is, of course, Pumapunku, the best known pyramid in Bolivia. When you connect the tops of those 3 structures, an equilateral triangle. So 3 continents, Africa, Europe, South America, 3 pyramid complexes, equilateral triangles.
Have you looked at Mexico, Teotihuacan?
Teotihuacan, well, of course, the top of the Sun, Moon, and Quetzalcoatl, exactly the same like layout of the Giza pyramids, which is exactly the same like Palencia pyramids in Spain. So we can see the connection. And now...
wait till tomorrow night. It gets even better. Wait till you see. Now, the Akapana pyramid, you said it's made of granite?
Granite blocks. Now, today...
Okay, you understand why granite's crucial in the energy model, right?
Of course, granite, of course. Again, we have a lot of quartz crystal.
Exactly. It's contained in millions of quartz crystals. Yes, yes.
It has always been about the energy, Richard, as you know that. And even if it is volcanic stone, like in Indonesia, volcanic stone has a lot of iron energy.
Yep.
When you go to China, their pyramids, sandstone and granite. Again, granite and sandstone, quartz crystal. When you go to Koh Ker pyramid in Cambodia, they have sandstone and volcanic stones. So they've been playing with those, same elements all around the planet.
For a very, 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 I think that the Giza design plan is at least 150 to 200,000 years old, and that's what we're going to show tomorrow night.
All right. Giza, I can say for sure it is between 30 and 40,000 years because I know who are the potential builders. And for that, we need to go to a newly renovated Egyptian museum in Turin, Italy, where the most important artifact for me from Egypt is stored. It is called Turin King List, which shows 3 phases when it comes to Egyptian rulers. Phase number 3, sons of gods, or pharaohs as we know them, 5,000 years back. Phase number 2, we have demigods. They would live and rule Egypt 200-300 years each. And phase number 1, gods, with small g, not the capital G. Gods who came to Egypt. Now I'll tell you when. So 5,000 years is the era of sons of gods. The era of Venerable Shem-Suhor is 13,000 years. And before Shem-Suhor, 23,000. So 23 plus 13 plus 5, that's almost 42,000 years. So sometimes between 30 and 40,000 years back, I think those pyramids were built. Why am I saying that? Because those gods, it is said, and it is shown in this document, Turin King List, they would rule Egypt in average 1,000 years. So if those gods, if those beings were living 1,000 years each, for me, it means that they did have technology to design, to shape, to transport, to build, and then to get energy effects from those structures. And by the way, I don't think that those 3 pyramids were built at 3 different times, like they are telling us, the 4 dynasty rulers. They were built as a complex, one design, one master plan.
Okay, we are at the top of the hour. My guest this morning is Dr. Sam Osmanagich. David Sarita is kind of going to join us again toward the end of the 3rd hour. Hopefully Maria Wheatley will have her tea, her Earl Grey this morning, and be able to also join us. But this is part of a coherent big picture model. Who were these people? How do they have such enormous time frames? Did they live 1,000 years individually? Not impossible. And why don't we now? You're on the other side of midnight. My name's Richard C. Hoagland. We shall return.
theothersideofmidnight.com. Talk radio with pictures on demand. Liberate your hyperdimensional time scale and non-linearly access over 400 hours of conversation at the cutting edge of science and thought. Join Club 19.5 to get access to exclusive content that fits your interests and time schedule. Filter episodes by guest or subject. Membership costs $9.95 a month, 33 cents a day. Listen while you travel or as an environment to your endeavors. 8 cents an episode, 2.5 cents per hour of content. theothersideofmidnight.com.
And welcome back, everyone, on the other side of midnight for this now Saturday night, Sunday morning, last hour here in the desert. So we got a culture, we got a set of cultures spaced thousands of years apart, going back to Sam's time horizon, 34,000 years. Tomorrow night, we're going to lay out, Dave and I are going to lay out a much more expansive vista of the site plan, not the structures, not the pyramids we see now, or the ones that came before, but a site plan which from our dating, my dating actually, which is astronomical, appears to be solidly anchored, pun intended, in the bedrock of Giza, the limestone, that takes us back potentially over 200,000 years, maybe as much as 250,000. Who were these people? The gods. Remember Arthur C. Clarke's famous third law. Any sufficiently advanced technology, hyperdimensional technology, my editorial, is indistinguishable from magic or miracles or the work of gods to present humans. Who were they? Maybe when we find Barbara's Sirius Point and whatever's buried there, we will know. Okay, Sam, where do we want to go next?
All right. Now, if we want to stay on my PowerPoint presentation,
Yep.
Slide number 8, it shows the Giza Plateau. Now, I did mention the golden section spiral or Fibonacci spiral. They are almost the same. Now, one of the spirals.
Wait, no, what number do we want?
Number 8.
8.
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking at 8. I see you standing in front of a Gunnong Padang.
No. You need to go to the PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, okay. Back to the PowerPoint. Okay. Sorry.
That's fine. So, Giza Plateau. The layout of those 3 Egyptian pyramids. The beginning of the spiral.
Yeah, and hang on, Sam. You get there by clicking on number 25, the last slide of Sam's thingy, which takes us to his PowerPoint, which has a gore. Oh, look at the spiral. David, look at the spiral. Wow. Go ahead, Sam.
So what we have here, beginning of the spiral, is an underground facility, underground construction, which is assigned to King Thoth. Of course, we use our terminology, kings, or even ancient Greek terminology, pharaohs. The Egyptian rulers never called themselves kings. They called themselves either sons of gods or children of gods, or people call them gods because they would live for so long. Now, King Thoth's chamber. Why King Thoth? Because I think there are many independent researchers who think that probably someone who had the status of God, like Thoth, that he was the real builder or at least designer of those pyramids. So this is very important spot. You start with the spiral, and then you can see that on the line of this spiral we have tops of all 3 pyramids, Menkaure or Meiseren, Khafre, and the Khufu pyramid. But that's not all. If we connect the King Thoth's chamber with a straight line when we draw the straight line, we will end up in exactly in that, they call it 2 temples for the mummification in front of the Sphinx. I don't think they were used for the mummification, but they are huge megalithic structures. So it is straight line, and then you go to the Sphinx, another straight line at 90 degrees.
So you make a right angle.
Right angle, and then when we connect Sphinx with the King.
Okay, so wait, the first line from Thoth's chamber, it goes due north, right?
Yes.
And then you make a left-west right angle, takes you right to the front of the Sphinx.
Yes.
Between the paws.
And now the third side, it is due 28 degrees northwest. So if we extend this line on the globe, you'll get exactly to Hudson Bay, Canada, which at one time, before the end of the last ice age, it was a North Pole. What does it mean?
What wasn't this Charles Hapgood, The Path to the Pole, where he identified a pole shift that put the pole one time in Hudson's Bay?
Yes, exactly. And it tells us, if they knew that, if it was purposely done, so the pole was there, and obviously the complex was built long time before 12,000 years ago.
Yes, yes.
And look at the next one, number 9. We are inside the Great Pyramid of Egypt.
I can never hear number 9 without thinking of Lily Tomlin.
Okay. Divine number 9. The most
Number 9? Go ahead.
Now, we can see the King's Chamber. If we start the beginning of the golden section spiral is at the King's Chamber. Now we can see on this line.
Oh, this is a side view. Look at this. Yeah. Oh my God, Sam.
The bottom of the pyramid, and then the top. But this is the top that includes missing 9 meters. And that's why I was saying that the top and the size of this pyramid had to be exactly the way it is, because they were respecting the elements of sacred geometry.
Oh, the 5 spirals everywhere. Wait till you see what David's turned up tomorrow night. This is amazing. This is amazing, Sam.
And then I want to show you something also very interesting. Look at the next slide, which is number 10. Number 10. This is the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids.
Oh, look at that.
The beginning of the spiral is the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Love, the very beginning. And then on this line,
why did you name it Pyramid of Love?
Well, there is a story behind it. When I
hoped. Go for it. We got time.
The pyramids of the sun and the moon, I realized that there is an astronomical connection between the two. The shadow of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun in the middle of the summer completely covers the moon pyramid. So in a symbolical way, the message of the builders is the rule of the day and the sun is over, and the rule of the night and the moon starts.
Right.
And then the Pyramid of the Dragon. Now, for 3 nights, I had almost nightmares thinking about how to name the 3rd pyramid, from that equilateral triangle.
Right.
And my head, it was coming, dragon. I didn't want to use dragon, but because dragon, it is a symbol of the knowledge and the power, but at the same time, dragons, that's something, sometimes, so terrifying, because it represents the more advanced civilization than ours. So eventually I said, okay, it will be Dragon Pyramid. But then I was thinking, okay, how we can fight something that's much stronger than you are in the military, in any other term, spiritual term. I said, it has to be love. Because it's the highest vibrations that we humans have. And that's the reason why this is Love Pyramid, the only pyramid in the world with such a name. Because Because that's,
Sam, it's perfect. It's because
Yeah.
it's all about energy, and love is the counterforce to hate in energy terms.
Yes, the strongest energy vibrations. So we start at the top of the love pyramid and look at the spiral. We have top of the sun pyramid. We have top of the temple of the Mother Earth. This is this structure which is, like a half moon. And then the next is the top of the dragon pyramid. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 points, and at the end of this spiral is the top of the tumulus in the village called the Vratnica. And if we go down to the slide number 12, we have a couple of photos from the tumulus in Vratnica. This is the conical artificial hill. We've done excavations there. We found huge blocks. They are reaching 24 tons.
Look at the paving stones.
Exactly, 50,000 pounds, some of them.
Do you know what they remind me of? The
Yes.
paving stones that John West found at Giza.
Okay.
Same size, same.
Yes.
If I can find in my archive a photo, he sent me a photo one day. I'll send it to you because they look identical.
All right.
They look identical in terms of era too.
Now, to the right from the photos, we can see another spiral. It starts at the mouth of two rivers, River Fonica and River Bosna, the blue line. I don't know if you can see that. That's the beginning of the golden section spiral. And then on this spiral, we have top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. It's in our language, Bosanska Piramida Sunca. Top of the Sun Pyramid, entrance to the Ravne tunnels, and then top of the tumulus in this village, Vratnica. And now, and if we go back to slide number 11.
Going back.
11.
Okay.
The blue line is the river Fonica. There's the river. And you see the river, you see an arrow. The river was actually flowing to the east. And then all of a sudden, it looks like somebody moved the riverbed near the Dragon Pyramid. They moved the riverbed for 90 degrees, and now this river is flowing to the north.
Oh, they did the geoengineering for the energy.
There you go, there you go. And so, river goes, River Fonica, and it goes to bigger river, River Bosna. That's the largest river in Bosnia, River Bosna. So, this point, this mouth of two rivers, for me, it is artificially made. Otherwise, this river would flow to the east.
Right.
So this, why is that important? Well, the mouth of two rivers, of course, it is important in the landscape. And now when we start from the Dragon...
Oh, wait, is that flowing along an energy ley line?
When it comes to the ley lines, we have the map of the ley lines in Balkan region, which has the countries of Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, Montenegro. And those ley lines, some of them are running north-south, some of them east-west, some of them diagonally. Right. Majority of the ley lines in the Balkan region actually intersect right in this town of Visoko. So the whole Bosnian Pyramid Valley was built on the top of several ley lines.
A nexus where they all came together.
Yes. So
kind of like a freeway interchange.
Exactly. Next time I'm going to send you that diagram. Now, so going back to the Dragon Pyramid, the green color.
Yeah.
When we draw the line to the perfect north, due north, perfectly straight line, the red line, it ends up in the mouth of those two rivers.
Oh my God.
And that's not all. Go to the final slide, slide number 13.
Okay.
And
what is this?
The perfectly straight line, the beginning of the line, there is no triangle there, but it should be. The beginning of the line is the top of the temple of Mother Earth.
Are we talking upper left?
Yes, upper left.
Okay.
There's the beginning of this straight line. The next one is number 1, triangle number 1. This is the top of the love pyramid. The next
I love
one,
that name.
number 2, is the top of the Bosnian pyramid of the sun. The next one, the third triangle, we were doing some core drilling on the structure. Right now it is unnamed structure, but this is the top of that unnamed structure. And the final one, number 4, 5, and 6, are different entrances to the prehistoric Ravne tunnels. So we have straight line connecting a temple, 2 pyramids, unnamed structures, and entrances to the tunnels.
What is that angle, Sam, from due north? I presume north is at the top.
And north is, okay, if you're looking at number 2, the north is going down.
I'm looking at 13.
So okay, yes, 13. So it's probably about 45 degrees. Not probably, but it is 45 degrees because this line exactly crosses the corner of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. This is the corner between north and west. This is the northwest corner. That's the good question. I haven't seen this before, so thank you for telling me.
I have a protractor. I'm measuring on the screen even as we talk.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would say it should be 45 degrees.
I'm going to tell you in a minute. It is. No, it's. Hang on. I have to subtract. Hold on. It's 50 some.
50.
50 some, yeah.
Okay.
It's about, actually, it's about 55 if you measure from the left.
I see.
So minus, I have to rotate this around. If I measure from the top, and hang on. This is real-time radio, folks. Science in action. It's 30 degrees.
Nice.
30 degrees.
30 degrees, that's a round number. Nice.
Yeah, well, 30, and it's a crucial hyperdimensional number.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. We got about 10 minutes in this segment, so let's, where are we going next?
Okay, I want to show you one more slide, which we never commented on. It's slide number 7. Slide number 7 in the PowerPoint presentation.
Going back to 7. Oh, look at the rosette.
Yes, exactly. Now.
Oh, and look at the triangles. Yes.
Yes. This slide shows in a red color the triangle that connects the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, Moon, and Dragon. And that's equilateral triangle. The distance is 2,180 meters. So, if we make a circle touching those 3 points, there's the circle in the middle. And then we use the same diameter. And we start from the major points, which is the center of the triangle. So we start with the one of the circles, and we go to the right. So this circle contains the center of the triangle, top of the Moon pyramid, and top of the Dragon pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see this circle? It is like, on the clock, it is like between 4 and the 5. And then the next one, we move 2 more. We have center, top of Dragon, and top of the Sun pyramid. And 2 more spots, center, top of the Sun, top of the Moon.
So you get a series of Vesica Pisces.
Yes, exactly. And we are getting the flower of life. The flower of life, of course, it is another one element of sacred geometry.
David is being very good. He's being very restrained. David, do you have any comments you want to make at this point? I think it's appropriate.
Well, I have questions about, I've been doing a bunch of math on the 28 kilohertz, and I'm pretty impressed with what I'm getting, but I want to know, was it exactly 28 kilohertz, or was it rounded off, or?
It was 28.4.
28.4. So the other thing you have to check is on the meter, because does the meter jump around, or does it stay steady in that range? Because usually when you're measuring frequencies, they tend to jump around a bit. Like, I mean, I've done a lot of measurements, and
Well, sometimes they go down to 27, so it's not, completely still.
well, there's a really good reason for why I'm asking this, and I'm going to show you. It's stunning what the numbers I'm getting. But so 27, I'm getting like 27.79. I'm getting a shaving under 28 in my system, and I'll show you what that means later. That's why I'm asking, because all those little deviances around 28 kilohertz matter. And so they're really important, because in my system, I'm at 99.15% of 28 kilohertz. And when I mean by my system, I would have to lay out a whole graphic to show you to do this right. But that's why I also have you revisited the site with the equipment. I mean, sometimes frequency meters, they have a certain accuracy in the decimal, and some don't. So I'd really like to see
Well,
where the
remember, I've measured and T. Townsend Brown measured over decades fluctuations, rhythmic, cyclic fluctuations with the rotation of the Earth, the movement of the moon. Remember, Sam, I predicted you'd get results for the eclipse, and you didn't think I was right, and I was. And the movements of the sun and us around the galaxy. So there are multiple frequency cycles that are part of what you're actually measuring at any one point.
It's true.
Right. So those little deviant numbers matter, because I'm getting a number of 27,765, for example, in my system. That's a shaving under 28. That's 99.15% of 28. So you mentioned you were getting 27 something sometimes. So
yes.
that's why I'll demonstrate to you in a graphic, and I'll email it to you.
Sam, have you ever thought of put long-term transmitters so that we could over here get through the internet some of these measurements and do long-term studies?
Well, that would be good.
Be excellent for us.
Yes.
So you take the speed of light in miles or per second, or in meters per second, and divided by the frequency as your wavelength. And once you have your wavelength, and that's, believe it or not, 28 kilohertz, it's still a pretty big wavelength. It's somewhere around 35,000 feet. So
Wow.
that's not a small wavelength, because that's actually a low frequency, right? A 28 kilohertz is just above human hearing. So there's still big waves. I mean, if you saw that wave moving along, it's pretty huge. It's not little. When you get to megahertz, you're getting kind of small, and when you get to gigahertz, you're really small. So anyway, that's why I want to know. Like, I like to see a chart of all the numbers you're getting, right down to, more than 2 decimals would be nice, but even 2 decimals is good. And then I'll do a graph on my system, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, because that number,
this will be cool,
is extremely meaningful. I just can't express what it is yet.
Well, this is radio, and you actually need pictures to do this. Yes.
So. Yeah, you need pictures to do this. So that's what I've been doing. I've been looking at your graphics going along. They're very impressive, the geometries and the Fibonacci spiral, and how they fall within.
Oh, it's so hyperdimensional.
Yeah, it's so perfect. Like, that can't be accident.
Again.
It's interesting, because right here where I am, just north of northern Idaho, I take my boat out on our super big lake, and we have a pyramid mountain that looks like a real pyramid covered in trees. And we are sitting at the edge when the ice age ended and the Younger Dryas period happened. We're right where the wall of ice was, right here. This is where we are, just north of northern Washington and Idaho, in Graham Hancock, Surrey. So I even wonder if this pyramid, I see all the time in my boat, and it's huge. I mean, this thing is really huge. I mean, it's at least 500 or 600 feet tall. I don't know. Is it natural, or is it, somebody like you would
Well,
know how
see,
to
I
look.
have the same question here because I'm in the Sandias, and at sunset, which is my normal time, you don't see it. But at dawn, which I see a lot lately because I stay up all night and work, the dawn shows what looked to me like absolute, Sam, carved pyramids in the Sandia Mountains to the about 6 miles to the south of me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that these engineers did this all over the planet, and they had a purpose, which was energy. And I think they were trying to raise the average energy level of the planet after the big, huge catastrophe a long, long time ago, millions of years ago.
Yeah, you see here where I am, there's a story. These fishermen were out early in the morning in this little Gazette paper here called the Balfour Gazette, and they saw what they thought was a meteor early in the morning go straight into this pyramid mountain, and they thought it was going to make a boom when it hits the side of the mountain. It didn't make a sound. The thing went right in, and it went right in this pyramid I'm talking about. So you wonder, like, how many of them did get covered up in the geological periods with forest, grass, similar to what you have in Bosnia with the three pyramids there.
And now the
So,
one in Java. Okay, we're coming up to the bottom of the hour. That's a kind of a contradiction in terms. So Sam, when we come back on the other side, let's get to the stuff that we didn't get to in the first half hour. I don't think Maria's going to be able to join us. She had a problem, kind of a transportation problem. They've been having terrible weather in Britain, so she may not have internet this morning. So so we will assume that she can't, and if she does, we will obviously have you guys back in some future time to kind of collaborate. So we're really now kind of at the bottom of the hour. We got about 2 minutes. Any more questions, David?
well, yeah, just that I'd like to see a graph of every single number they got around 28 kilohertz, and then with that, you'll see the accuracy of how that falls into my system in a graph that I can lay out for Sam. And I'd like to see what he thinks of what I'm going to do with it. So that's really, yeah, it's important to have all the data, all the numbers. Frequencies usually jump around. They rarely lock on a single number steady, and without jumping around a lot. And some of that jumping around is ambient interference, like because you have frequencies, when frequency waves bump into each other, they fractal a bit. And so you in a natural environment, you get resonances and feedback. So that's why the number tends to jump around a bit. But I'd like to see all those numbers because I think there's something here that's going to blow everybody's minds when I
Okay,
present
we're
it to you.
at the bottom of the hour. My guest this morning is Dr. Sam Osmanagich. David Sarid is still with us. Tomorrow night, you do not want to miss what we're going to do in part 2 of the Serious Point Mystery with Barbara and Georgia and David and me and Greg Aarons. And Sam, if you'd like to join us, I would love to have you, because I think once you see the larger discussion, you'll see how your results, your discoveries are fitting into a, pun intended, mega picture. You're on the other side of midnight. My name is Richard C. Hoagland. 1 half hour to go. Don't touch that dial.
theothersideofmidnight.com. Tune in to listen to Richard C. Hoagland and his fascinating guests. Join Club 19.5 to get access to exclusive member benefits. Listen to past episodes anytime on any device. Search the archives of over 180 episodes. Membership costs $9.95 a month, 33 cents a day. Support the broadcaster to provide you with the most interesting conversation available. Talk radio at the cutting edge of science and thought. The other side of midnight.com.
And welcome back, everyone. Last half hour to go on this Saturday night, Sunday morning edition. Imagine a series of global civilizations following a solar system-wide catastrophe millions of years before. Imagine refugees, survivors, primitive peoples, humans reaching back, trying to recapture the incredible ancient glory of their own history, which at that time, of course, is only myth, legends, stories, campfire stories. And then someone comes back and begins to try to civilize a planet, a culture, a species. And as part of what they did, again, in our model, they tried to raise the energy, the invisible hyperdimensional torsion field energy of major regions of a desecrated, desolated planet following a stunning interplanetary war. And the future will be to put meat on these bones, to recreate the three-dimensional history lost, hopefully, by finding archives buried somewhere in this bewildering but incredibly consistent hyperdimensional geometry of ancient structures. Sam, have you ever looked for time capsules amid the Bosnian pyramids?
I like what you just said. What I can say is that we need to stay open. We need to realize that we are not the first or the last civilization on this planet. We are not the only one who's been building huge structures. But it seems that the ancients were kind of smarter. They were not using an artificial stuff like we do from plastic.
Which goes away in the twinkling of an eye.
Yeah, exactly. They were using something that lasts almost forever. And that would be very hard stones and rocks from this planet. This goes for the Egyptian structures, whether they are pyramids or obelisks or temples. It goes for many other structures built from the granite, volcanic stone, diorite, and some other very strong materials. And we have so many proofs. Bolivia, Peru, Mexico, Yonaguni monuments on the bottom of the Pacific floor, Indonesia, Cambodia, Sudan, and so on. So they were smart, and they were not using pyramids as the energy amplifiers or energy machines. They were using them as places of knowledge. They were storing the knowledge, astronomical knowledge, calendar knowledge. They were making the structures that would affect all walks of our life. They knew that pyramid energy can benefit our health. The pyramid energy can improve the molecular structure of the most important liquid in our life, and that would be water. You know, in Bosnia, we've analyzed water discovered in the Bosnian pyramid tunnels. This water, first of all, after so many thousands of years, it's drinkable, it's crystal clear and clean. How is that possible? Well, because of negative ions. They are a barrier towards the microbes. And then they knew that pyramid energy would improve our food. You know, Richard, we did experiment with the seeds of beans, and we put the bag with the seeds in the tunnels, another bag on the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, another bag was a control bag, you know, we put it at home. It was not exposed to the pyramid energy. And 15 days later, we were checking for the germinization process. How many seeds will start growing? In the case of the control group, 60%, which is basically, we know when we buy seeds, vegetables, fruits, you know, flowers, not every seed will start growing. So 60% was something that we expected. But the seeds from the tunnels under the pyramids and from the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, the percentage was 100%.
Wow.
Meaning that the pyramid energy affects the DNA of all the living organisms. And then we planted those seeds in our most beautiful park. You know, we purchased property, the muddy and swampy, and then we turned it into a beautiful park. And then we planted the seeds of beans. The bean season is from May until beginning of September. And we were checking the growth. The pyramid beans were growing 3 times quicker, richer, and healthier. So that's another proof that the ancients were so smart. They knew the power of the shape of the pyramid. They knew that the pyramid will amplify the natural energy sources, and this energy can be beneficial literally to everything, the food and the water, and it is the source of the long distance communication. The pyramid energy works on so many different levels. And unfortunately, after 200 years of Egyptology, they still give us those bedtime stories about the pyramids being tombs, being built for one dead body. Basically, they are telling us they belong to the past. There is no need to investigate them.
Exactly.
You know,
when Sam, when Robin and I went to Mexico and Central America for me to measure the pyramids with the Accutron, one afternoon while she's staying safely on the ground because she did not want to go up on one of the pyramids, we had a Mayan shaman with us, and I'm sitting on the top of one of the pyramids there at you know, just outside Mexico City, Teotihuacan. And I'm dangling my legs over the edge of the pyramid. Of course, Robin's freaking out on the ground. And the shaman is sitting next to me, and I have the laptop, and I'm showing him the measurements. And he's absolutely stunned because he said, my grandmother talked about these energies. I never thought I would see them on a computer. And we're just sitting there having fun, and Robin's freaking out down below. But it was exhilarating because, remember, I'm trying to bring modern 21st century science to something so old that it's been lost in the mists of time by we keep calling them ancients. These were super advanced beings that were the equivalent to humans now of gods, but they were human. I absolutely think they were as human as you and I. They just were humans before the fall, before humanity was deliberately suppressed, so we could not live long enough to gain the wisdom to know how to do this all ourselves again.
Excellent. You know, there is a pyramid, of course, the Kukulkan pyramid in Mexico.
Measured it.
Yes.
They actually arrested me, so I wasn't supposed to measure it, but they didn't know that the field reached hundreds of feet away, so I'm standing in front of the police station outside with my laptop on a garbage can, measuring freely while they think they've successfully sabotaged the project. You
know, before 2012, you could climb the top of this Kukulkan pyramid. Now you cannot anymore.
That's the one with the traveling serpents at sunset of the equinox.
Exactly. And, you know, I was climbing before and after that I could not. But 15, 20 years...
I'm sorry, Sam, to interrupt, but by the way, those traveling serpents represent waves, David, resonance waves. They were telling it, like Emily Dickinson, what the pyramid was designed to do was to amplify and resonate these energies, and no one remembers.
So when you show the calculation on a 28 kilohertz wave, the wavelength, so you take the speed of light divided by the frequency, you get 35,127 feet as a wavelength, which is a circle 11,181.428 feet across, just to give you like a picture. That's if it's an electromagnetic frequency. If it's acoustic frequency, it could look different than that. So are the frequencies you're measuring them in the electromagnetic spectrum, Sam?
Electromagnetic, yes.
Yeah, so then they would be that big. Now, the other question I have is, would a naturally occurring pyramid, because the geometry is correct, would it measure the same? Like, because it's the shape.
In other words, if you just have a big hill, I think I'm
going to anticipate that's truly pyramidian. Like that has.
Yeah, but it has to be the right geometry. A hill, a lump doesn't do it. It's got to have the geometry.
Right. That's what I mean.
Well, I will answer that question. In eastern Serbia, there is a pyramid mountain. It is called Rtanj. Very hard to pronounce. Rtanj. It is exactly 2 times bigger, higher than the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Now, we learned about this mountain decades ago when the pilots observed that while flying over this pyramid mountain, all the instruments would get frozen. So that's some type of magnetic field that was bringing disturbances. And then we started researching this pyramid mountain. Actually, it is not 4, but 3-sided pyramid top, very regular.
A tetrahedron?
Yes, with the 3 corners.
Oh my God.
Then we have endemic forms of vegetation, meaning there are some special energies. Then from the very top, somebody made the tunnel going down, then 90 degrees to the right, and then again 90 degrees down, right angles. And then the water from this mountain is especially good. And we went there, we measured the very top. It is also 28 kilohertz frequencies. So when you look, this is the limestone mountain. I mean, you don't have the blocks like in the case of the Bosnian pyramids, but it seems that the regular geometry in conjunction with some other pyramid hills around it, elements of sacred geometry, the water, chambers, passageways, and so on, does give the same energy effects.
That's incredible.
Yes, that's incredible. But what I wanted to say when I mentioned Kukulkan pyramid, when it comes to the sound properties, when I was climbing that pyramid, I could hear the echo. I mean, you are climbing up, you can hear the echo, but this echo was different than just the steps. It was different, and then I remember that people were saying that when you climb the top of the Kukulkan pyramid, it is like you are inviting the semi-gods to come to your place. And of course, this pyramid is especially interesting during 2 important days. One is spring equinox, the other one is fall equinox. And there are the stories, the legends that during those 2 days, the demigods would come back and they would bring knowledge and so on. Now, they are talking about their divine, Quetzalcoatl, and which is also based on their holy bird, which is called Quetzal. So some people, when climbing up, it would remind them on the sound of the bird Quetzal. So acoustic engineers went to measure the frequency of the birds singing, and the frequency was between 800 and 1020 hertz. And then they went to measure the frequency when you climb the top of the pyramids. Now, this frequency is determined by two things: the width of the stairs and the height of the stairs. Well, the width of the stairs would produce about 812 hertz, which is basically the same. It is in the range of the bird Quetzal. And the height of the stairs, now this is very interesting. The height, it is unusually high. And Richard, you probably remember when you climb those pyramidal temples in the Mayan world, I mean, they are very high. They are, you know, it's like very steep. So sometimes people climb with the, you know, hands and feet together, like, you know.
Yeah, try climbing them with a laptop in your hands.
Yeah, exactly. So the height of the stairs would produce frequency of 1000 hertz. In other words, you are getting the same frequency range of the bird Quetzal. Imagine this, the ancient Mayan builders, what type of knowledge they would, you know, it is very unusual. I mean, the Mayans, they were probably 5 feet tall. So when you are looking at the width, it's rather small, and it would really match the size of their shoes. But it is unusually high. You would expect that those stairs were, you know, not so steep, not so high, but they wanted to get this sound effect. I mean, this is amazing.
Because the sound modulates the invisible energies that interact with the human biology.
Correct. So, I mean, they were so connected to the nature, they were able to match, you know, the natural frequencies. Amazing. It's the same thing like those golden section spirals. Energy movement, because the golden section spiral, it can be found anywhere from the seashells all the way to the, you know, spiral galaxies.
Yep.
That's you know.
Yeah, NASA did recording of what are called Earth whistlers in the Earth's magnetic field, and it sounds just like birds singing in the morning, like large groups of birds singing in the morning. It's almost as if the birds are tuning into these natural frequencies and just kind of singing along to them, because the Earth whistlers sound exactly like birds singing in the morning, like in large groups.
Yeah, that's when the strongest energy. Once you wake up, you know, the sun started rising, the strongest energy. This is where they are singing. They are singing then and at the sunset.
Because when Rob and I were at Tikal, because I went to measure Tikal, we got up early enough so we were there at dawn, because I wanted to measure the frequencies at sunrise, because there's a definite spike in the energies at sunrise. And what was so eerie is the monkeys, the baboons, and the birds at dawn amid the Tikal pyramids. By the way, when we were at Tikal, this Mayan priest says to me, he says, you realize, remember at Tikal, they have these huge pyramids that are kind of facing each other across a central square? Sam?
Yes.
Okay, he said that in many generations, hundreds of years past, the peasants, the farmers, would bring their sacks of grains and legumes and other things to that square. They would have like a 2-week festival while the organics sat between the pyramids. They would then take them back to their villages and plant them. So they were deliberately energizing, like in your experiment, the actual foodstuffs that the population ate, which is why they were so healthy, even though they had zero Western medicine.
There you go. Excellent. And another example, Palenque in the Mexican state of Chiapas, the most beautiful Mayan city. You know how they teach us that the Mayans would sacrifice their enemies, they would sacrifice their people, blah, blah, blah. And in front of the pyramid, there were like a couple of, stone columns. And they said, well, they use that to sacrifice the enemy. But luckily, the new technology allow us to get very small, pieces. Mike, you cannot even see them, the micro pieces. And they did the analysis under the electronic microscopes. And instead of blood, instead of, sacrificed enemies, what they found were the seeds and the traces of flowers. Oh. So, once we, intersect our knowledge and our information, I think that the conclusions that we are getting are really amazing, and it gives us the real purpose of pyramids. They were built for the living communities.
Living life, amplification of life, yes.
So when you said, the earth was desolate after the big catastrophes, of course the ancients knew the power of pyramids and the pyramid energy. It helps with literally everything, to protect the planet, to get to the right frequency, to affect the life, to affect the water.
My model is that after the Great War, which was millions of years ago, huge interplanetary, maybe interstellar war, solar system is decimated, this incredible set of octaves of the planet spinning and orbiting at the right distances, so the whole system is unified in terms of these energies. After the war, the refugees, some of whom I think went to Sirius, came back, and they found their cousins in a desolate state, and so they tried to recreate the energies in local areas, and that's why you have these amazing structures that are designed to resonate and amplify with the remaining energy of the planet to restore somewhat the garden, which we, of course, memorialize in Genesis in the Western tradition.
Excellent. And one more thing. There is a place, it's a Mayan city of Bonampak. Bonampak is in Mexico. It's a national reservation. And that was the only place with preserved murals from the Mayan civilization. 3 chambers. And in those murals, there are daily scenes, the rulers and the peasants and even the fight with the nearby village. But in the corners, there were so-called demigods, on the ceilings. They are like looking what the Mayan people are doing. But those demigods are presented the same like the Mayans on this planet. So they were the same people. They were not like some ETs with elongated.
They're family. They were family, relatives.
Yes.
Our huge extended now galactic family. And frankly, you've seen all the new stuff, Sam, about the drones and the orbs and all that. I think some of that family is coming back, because this is a unique time, and we're going to talk about this more tomorrow night. But what's going on in LA appears to be a fragment of a much bigger conflict going on behind the scenes.
Okay. All right. Well, tomorrow, you know what? I'm going to Indonesia tomorrow, not to Gunung Padang, I'm going to Bali. And that's the reason why I won't join you tomorrow. But I'm gonna make sure that I listen to the show.
I was going to say, we are all over the world on the internet, and we're on tape, so we can get you copies if you can't listen. Yes. Okay, guys, we got about 5 minutes left. What have we missed? What should we leave the audience with?
Well, let me say this. In Bosnia, Richard, we started as the archaeological project with a lot of digging. Then we realized archaeology is not enough because classical sciences, archaeology, geology, and so on. We went to the interdisciplinary scientific approach. And then we came to the energy aspects. Then from energy, we went to the spiritual aspects. Pyramid energy develops our spiritual senses. Then we went to the healing aspects. Pyramid energy improves our, mental state. And then 8-9 years back, I spent my US savings. I used to live in Houston for more than 20 years. I purchased almost 100,000 square meters, more than million square feet of the neglected land, swampy land, and we transformed it into the most beautiful European park, which has become the regional cultural oasis, sports oasis. We built a tennis stadium, which was inaugurated with the best tennis player ever.
We're talking about your Bosnian archaeological park, right?
Yes, yes.
Excellent.
So it has become, sports oasis, cultural, artistic. So you see, we started with the archaeology, and now we are getting to the concept of life. We talk about, we have book promotions, festivals, and concerts, and conferences, and people coming to yoga sessions, to meditate, to, healthy way of living, smoothie, juices, organic food. So we are showing a different concept of future. We live in the world, they are telling us transhumanism, put biochip under your skin, you will be controlled 24 hours a day, manipulated, digital money, this and that. Well, we are saying no. The future of humanity is to go back to the harmony among us and harmony with the nature. So this is the place that we are building, and I'm extremely proud on it. And if I may, I would invite everyone listening to this show to come to join us in Bosnia as well.
You're definitely reading my mind, because that's where I wanted to end. How can people, citizen scientists, both here, other countries, other continents, other cultures, how can they join this project and contribute toward the real future of humankind?
BosnianPyramids.ba. BosnianPyramids.ba. They'll find a lot of information, useful information, of course, under my name, Instagram or Facebook and so on. People come, they are so positively shocked. They are so exciting. They keep coming back. They love the place. And once they realize that even without the government money, you can build such a wonderful place, it can be a big stimulation for them and the motivation to do something similar in their places.
Okay, if you haven't sent the link to Keith, send it to him after the show. We'll post it in your bio so people can find it for tonight's show, because the more people that join you, the faster we recreate the Garden of Eden that obviously we've long since abandoned.
Yes, exactly.
Well, guys, we are at the end of the show. I want to thank my guest tonight, Dr. Sam Osmanagich, David Sarita, of course, beginning and end. And tomorrow night, you're going to hear more of our research on the Giza Plateau. We've got some major surprises. We're narrowing in on Barbara's serious point. And Sam, when you hear the show, I think you're going to want to help, no matter where you are on the planet. I wish you well on your trip to Bali, and we will talk to you very soon. Again, folks, end of Saturday, beginning of Sunday, tomorrow night, you do not want to miss the Serious Point Mystery Part 2. So until then, third star on the left, straight on till morning. Good night, everyone.